So we're coming into the sub. This is the only toilet available on a deep diving submersible. Best seat in the house. You can look out the viewport. We put a privacy screen in, turn up the music, and it's very popular. We have our control screen here, our sonar screen here, and we can put any image we want in the back. We've taken a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back. Turn left, turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board just in case. This is the second year we've been out to the Titanic. We went out in 5 8-day missions. We did about 10 dives to the wreck site of the Titanic, and we did an extra dive on an undiscovered reef that we found. Completely privately funded operation, and we're funded by, we call mission specialists who help support the mission. So they take quite a bit of money to come and join us. Years ago,
it's been a year since the implosion of the submersible, and I have been wanting to talk about this for quite some time. My channel covered the submersible, the whole tragedy that happened, and a lot of us were intrigued by it. And let me just say, I am not an expert whatsoever on anything submersible, so I appreciated everybody that came through on my chat and educated me. I mean, I was calling it a submarine, and I'm like, I didn't know it was not called a submarine. It's called a submersible. Bad rabbit. I got it. Y'all, like, thank you for educating me on that. But it's literally been, it'll be a year on the 18th since the events of the submersible. So we need to get into it. James Cameron recently did an interview that we're going to review and I want to talk about, and everything that we've come about, everything that we've discovered. And then there are still people out there that are willing to get onto these submersibles, you know, people that have the money to do it, to discover deep sea areas, because that's what they want to do. So we got to get into it. All right. So this is what we know so far. On June 18, 2023, the OceanGate Titan submersible imploded while descending to the Titanic shipwreck in the North Atlantic Ocean, killing all 5 on board. We know that the CEO was killed, Paul Henry, a French DC explorer and Titanic expert, Hamish Harding, a British businessman, Shahzad Dawood, a Pakistani British businessman, Suleiman Dawood, which is Hashah's son, all killed on this submersible. A lot of experts basically said that this implosion occurred by a sudden increase in pressure, a strong compression in this container, and it was basically like a punctured balloon. Some experts have said that the way that Titan was designed, this carbon fiber cylinder design made this submersible a complete failure. It was made to fail, and that OceanGate had ignored warning signs that existed. After all of that happened, OceanGate suspended all exploration and commercial operations and removed all of its social media accounts. You know, I remember looking through the social media accounts and they were just removed like quickly. But some of us got a lot of screenshots from last year. The Coast Guard recovered presumed human remains from the debris and transported them to the U.S. port for analysis. And they had like, if y'all remember, they were covering everything up. They had like little tarps and stuff, and people were reporting that there were human remains. People have said that this implosion happened so quickly that, you know, they wouldn't have known anything happened, if that makes sense, that their death was fairly quickly. But I am not an expert in that, and I would imagine that regardless of that, a lot of this is just tragic overall and irresponsible, right? Like irresponsible that Stockton, that the CEO knew that there was a lot of concerns, and it was amazing to see a lot of people speak out after the implosion with their experiences with OceanGate and the CEO. Now, one of the things that came out after the implosion were documents of whistleblowers years before the Titan imploded, the submersible imploded. There had been lawsuits against the company. There were people that had signed up, and, you know, there were things that weren't delivered or things that were promised that just didn't happen. There were, from the lawsuits, they had quality reports that were written. Specifically, there were things that were said that the glue that was coming away from the seams to the zip tie took place of sturdy fasteners and clamps. And so this was just like a, I don't know, like a glue your own submersible type of situation. There were pictures that were shown. So a lot of this was just something that was waiting to happen, right? The risk that people ran just to go out there and see this Titanic, to see the Titanic. So there was a lot of warning signs out there about the submersible, and I guess it was just a tragedy waiting to happen.
I wish I had been more vocal about that, but I think I was unaware that they weren't certified because I wasn't really studying it. I wasn't really interested. Stockton Rush asked me if I wanted to go out there and dive this season. I wasn't interested. There was a lot of concern about this outfit and this sub. A lot of concern, even to the extent that I wasn't involved in it because I was making Avatar 2 at the time, but a lot of them got together and wrote a letter to OceanGate and said, you have to certify. You cannot take people down. It's irresponsible, and it could lead to catastrophe.
James Cameron recently did his own investigation, and you guys know James Cameron has been like a huge explorer of the ocean, specifically in the Titanic area. Of course, we all know about the Titanic, the movie that he directed. So James Cameron decides to reveal new information about this whole submersible, and literally a year after. Let's give some commentary and let me know your thoughts in the comments as we're reviewing this.
These guys broke the rules. It's that simple. They should not have been legally allowed to carry passengers.
James Cameron is furious too.
Running all over the surface, the entire world, waiting with bated breath, talking about 96 hours of oxygen. We all knew they were dead.
And
do you guys remember, like, oh man, I know as a creator, we were going live, and I know, shout out to Ikamel, he was going live. We were all talking about this whole submersible thing and like how many hours of oxygen, and they only had so many hours, and we were going live talking about it. I mean, it literally took the whole community on YouTube to a whole different space that we didn't even know existed, right? How many hours of oxygen did they have? What happened? I remember people going live about it. I remember others thinking, they could have survived this. They could be out there, even though several folks, believed they had already passed. There was no way they were going to survive this.
why, despite 5 active investigations, the world is still waiting for answers.
I think they went by a procedure that was torturous for the family.
What are you hearing about where the investigation is up to?
I've made myself available. I've volunteered to the investigative committee at the Coast Guard. Nothing.
They haven't interviewed you?
I think they want to do things their way. And frankly, I think they've kind of got egg on their face, and they don't want outside opinions. That's just my interpretation.
Can you guys tell me in the comments what you guys feel like when this implosion was missing from the start of the investigation? What went wrong with the investigation? Listen, we talked about OceanGate, what went wrong all the way there, but what did something go wrong during the investigation? I'm kind of wondering about that. And why haven't they consulted with James Cameron, who I think at this point is probably one of the only experts that we have so far as it pertains to this area in the Titanic, what to expect, what it looks like how to navigate certain areas. What do you guys think?
That was, almost a year ago. So,
That's astonishing to me.
why listen to a scientist?
Taking a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back, turn left, turn right, go down.
Oh my God. This is so scary to me. You are inside this cylinder carbon fiber thing, right? And the only way to navigate this thing is a damn, what looks to be a PS4 PlayStation remote. Now, I know people, I remember when we were looking into this, I think it was like a Logitech or whatever remote that you could find on Amazon. I think the price was like less than $20. And then they got the screens right there, right? To be able to operate that. This is like PlayStation. Your life is you figure this out there. You ain't got time to freak out. Your life is on that little remote right there. You got to be kidding me. That's crazy.
Down, go up.
OceanGate's maverick CEO, Stockton Rush, pushed the limits of sense and safety while promising passengers an unforgettable adventure.
That's the crazy part.
With a hull made from carbon fiber composite, which industry experts agree is incapable of withstanding extreme deep sea pressure. As a result, the sub wasn't classed or certified.
You're remembered for the
Oh my God. And even seeing this little, let me make myself smaller. You're in here and you're watching this and you have a PS4 remote or a Logitech remote. Like, look at this. You can't stand up. You have to sit there for hours upon hours. No, to do what? To see the sea?
For the rules you break. And, you know, I've broken some rules to make this. Carbon fiber and titanium, there's a rule you don't do that. Well, I did.
He seemed to take a real pride in his unconventional approach, in breaking the rules.
Exactly. And I think this is a place where you've got to really know your stuff before you can step outside the box.
And you know, listen, I don't diagnose folks, okay? I really don't. Like, it's not my thing to do. It's not my thing to scream out, you're a narcissist, or you're a this, or you're a, you know, somebody that does this, being riskful, knowing the consequences of what could have happened, that there is a level of narcissism there. There is a level of like, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. Now, listen, I think taking risk can be healthy. Definitely. You want to get your ass in a little submersible and you yourself, don't bring 5 other people, don't bring 4 other people with you. You yourself, that's fine. Okay, go for it. You want to go implode yourself over there, go for it. Right? But to bring other people and guarantee them something or tell them that this is going to happen or whatever, right? Like, you have got to be kidding me. And knowing I did it, is he here to tell anything else? Is he here to tell us what happened? No, he's not. No. Sorry, Mr. Stockton. You are so full of yourself then. I'm just saying, wherever he's at.
You don't move fast and break things, as they say in Silicon Valley, if the thing you're going to break has got you inside it, along with other innocent people who believe your line of BS.
Thank you.
On June 18 last year, Stockton Rush set off for the most famous shipwreck on Earth, with Paul-Henri Nargeolet as guide and 3 paying passengers: billionaire explorer Hamish Harding, Pakistani businessman Shahzada Dawood, and his teenage son Suleiman.
This is the part that got us really confused, because we were hearing about that there was like banging noises, and I know people went into a tangent about whether this actually did happen. Were there actual banging noises, or was this something else? Like, what was this exactly, you know? And I'm kind of curious to know where this goes to, because I think it's important to understand, like, was it them before the implosion, or did the implosion happen before that?
Painting a haunting picture of the 5 men trapped inside at the bottom of the ocean.
It just made such a beautiful media circus, to talk about a race against time, these poor people, tapping sounds, ridiculous.
James Cameron wasn't surprised at all when US Navy analysis found the banging noises weren't human and were most likely from the ocean or ships in the area.
They're hearing a little crescent wrench or something tapping against a hull over the sound of 11 ships operating in the immediate vicinity, moving giant pieces of deck equipment around.
Not possible.
That's like, hearing a sparrow fart over the cacophony of an airport.
So that whole thing was
maybe a
fiction.
Metaphor you'll want to cut out.
It's a great metaphor, but you're saying that whole thing was fiction.
Well, we knew, my jaw literally dropped open farther and farther each day that they never cautioned everybody.
That wasn't a knocking then. Just keep that in mind. Now, let me show you guys something, right? This recently broke about a couple weeks ago. This billionaire from Ohio, I guess. He wants to prove that diving to the Titanic shipwreck is safe. Okay. So Ohio billionaire Larry Connor plans to showcase deep sea exploration safety by descending to the Titanic shipwreck site in the Triton 4000 submersible. Partnering with Triton Submarine Patrick, Connor aims to demonstrate that proper engineering ensures safety in the deep sea adventure. So this is going to cost this man, it's going to cost him about $20 million. What do you guys think about that? Is this a smart idea? Listen, clearly this isn't situations in which us regular non-billionaire folks are going to get into, right? We're not going to get into that. We're not. So he's going to do it. He's got something to prove. He wants to make sure that everybody knows it's safe. That's his agenda. I don't know what else to say. You know, if he's got the money to do it, I don't think it should be allowed, but that's what he wants to do. He has the money to do it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Critical piece of information the Coast Guard didn't share.
9:25 confirmed implosion. And I literally wrote that on the pad the moment I heard from my naval source.
So the Coast Guard lied.
So there were so many resources that were used to search for this submersible, right? Did the Coast Guard already know that the submersible had already imploded? And so they just kind of kept going. And y'all remember they had press conference after press conference about it? You guys remember that? I mean, I do. What do you guys make of this whole situation?
It would have been a miraculous survival story, but James Cameron says it was always fiction. Tonight revealing for the first time the moment he knew the Titan had suffered a catastrophic implosion.
I just found this in my file. It says this is on Casa del Mar Stationery. That's the hotel I was in LA at the time that I heard about it. 9:25, that's AM, 9:25 confirmed implosion. And I literally wrote that on the pad the moment I heard from my naval source, very reliable source, that they had heard an event and triangulated it to the site.
Wow.
That US naval intelligence of an implosion near the Titanic wreck site came just hours after the Titan set off.
And then it just transformed into this crazy thing. Everybody running around with their hair on fire when we knew right where the sub was. But nobody could admit that they didn't have the means to go down and look. So they were running all over the surface, and the entire world, you know, waiting with bated breath, talking about 96 hours of oxygen. We all knew they were dead. We'd already hoisted a glass, a toast to our fallen comrades on Monday night.
So everybody knew that they had passed away based on what was reported. This is what James Cameron wrote on his notepad. So something is off about this, because it seems like they had press conference after press conference. They had us all go crazy, looking. I mean, I'm telling you, I was looking in various websites, and I'm not an ocean expert, but I sure as hell was interested to see what happened. That's crazy.
So the Coast Guard lied.
I don't think they lied. I think they went by a procedure that was torturous for the family.
Unnecessarily
torturous for the family. I don't think
because they had to do it?
They lied. They just didn't disclose. They were informed by naval intelligence that an implosion event was tracked to the coordinate of the Titanic wreck site. Now,
wow.
Could it have been something else? 1 in a trillion.
But the Coast Guard insists that information was inconclusive. As far as Captain Jamie Frederick is concerned, a rescue mission doesn't become a recovery mission until there's tangible evidence.
Had you had at that early stage reports of naval intelligence of an implosion at the Titanic wreck site that day? Had you heard those reports?
We received the information from the Navy very early on that they had detected an anomaly in the vicinity of the site of the Titanic. But at the time, that information was at a classified level that couldn't be shared publicly. And it also was not definitive. And frankly, in the business of search and rescue, absent definitive information, we have a moral responsibility and a statutory responsibility, frankly, to continue to search.
So did they know what happened? And because of procedure, they had to kind of proceed by searching and continuing the search. What do you guys make of that response? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
It never made sense to me how someone with so much experience would agree to dive with OceanGate knowing the risks.
That's a tricky area for me.
Yeah.
But I have to remind myself that PH wasn't an engineer per se. He was an explorer at heart. I also know his heart, which was to go, which was to dive.
Do you expect there'll be charges? Should someone be prosecuted?
I think that there should be some changes. They didn't have classification. Theoretically, they should not have been legally allowed to carry passengers.
I guess the question becomes who would be charged, right? Who was making these decisions? Who was doing what they like? Who exactly would be charged in such situations? I guess that would be my question. But now there's been, with the investigation of OceanGate and just a lot of problems with not just the Titan but other submersibles, right? Like, where do we go from here? And yet you still have billionaires that want to go and explore. I guess I'm trying to balance this. Like, is it important at the risk of life, right, for people to be allowed to do whatever the hell they want to? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if I have an answer for this, at least my opinion. I'm conflicted about this. I really am.
This is an experimental sub. This is a dangerous environment.
Is this a case of the person who should be prosecuted is in fact already dead?
Yeah, I think the tragedy is he took others with him. He should have listened to the warnings. But don't we say that about the captain of Titanic?
James Cameron is now channeling his outrage at OceanGate and the investigation into a new deep sea mission, vowing to return to the Titanic in honour of his dear friend, and to make sure Stockton Rush's failed experiment is relegated to the history books.
Exploration will proceed because it must, and because it's part of the human spirit, right? And, a knucklehead that made a mistake shouldn't be holding everybody else back, and it won't, right? We have plans to build a sub that can go to 4,000 meters, and we will.
Wow.
And I may even go back to Titanic in that sub, just to prove the point that if it's done right, it can be done safely.
So James Cameron is not opposed to going back either. I don't know, y'all. I mean, I guess you don't become an expert in something unless you go out and explore about it extensively. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about this whole situation. Are you guys against it or for it? Do y'all believe that this is just crazy? The ocean should be left alone. We've already have enough. We need our limits. Like, we need to learn from this. Or if you have the money to go explore and put yourself in a little tin can, you go do you, boo. Like, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you guys on the next one. Rabbits out. Bye, guys.